Well, during his Sona address, President Cyril Ramaphosa said government will soon request proposals for wind and solar energy. It follows an estimation from Eskom that there will be an electricity shortfall, or listen to this, between 4,000 and 6,000 megawatts over the next 5 years. We're going to find out what that actually means in a moment. The solar industry says it is ready to be of assistance to government. Let's get more on this from a board member of the SA Photovoltaic Industry Association, Mr. Maloba Tshehla, who's joining us this morning. Maloba, good morning to you. I still struggled, I think, with the name photovoltaic. But essentially, the reason I wanted to speak to you guys is about this 4,000 to 6,000 megawatts that we're apparently going to lose as a country. Just before we talk about solar, help me understand, what is 6,000 megawatts? Is that Sandton in Johannesburg? Is that a province? Is it a city of Cape Town? What is 6,000 megawatts in real terms?
Yeah. Sure, I hadn't done that number, but it's quite a significant amount of generation capacity. I think a good comparison is if you think of the likes of Medupi and Kusile. Each of those are sitting at about 4,500 megawatts. So 6,000 is an entire power station and a bit more. And we're talking about enough capacity to power millions of households. So yeah, you would definitely power Sandton and a few surrounding areas with that, and a lot more actually. We're talking about just under 10% of what used to be available capacity in the country, so a significant deficit.
And that's potentially what we're going to lose as a result of these coal-powered fire stations and diesel-powered power stations over the next few years. And this is where solar comes in. I'm sure you would have heard in my introduction, government says they're willing to work with the solar industry, but they've been saying this for years, and it doesn't seem like we're any further down the road. Not only does it not seem like it's actually happening, unless you can correct me, but it's also a case of Eskom wanting to charge people using solar to have solar. I'm starting to get confused as to what government and Eskom wants from the solar industry.
Yeah, I think there's quite a lot of that's been happening, in recent history, but also in the past couple of years in the energy space. But I think to start off with, we have to recognize that there's a fundamental global shift happening in the energy economy. And South Africa actually is very well positioned to take advantage of that. And if we think of the pandemics that we're facing currently, of COVID, of unemployment in South Africa, and the economic disparity that the country has, renewables and solar in particular have an incredible role to play in transitioning us beneficially into this new energy paradigm. So what we are seeing is government wheels turning very slowly in recognition of this fact. And I think you'll know that last year we closed a bidding round, a risk mitigation bidding round for another 2,000 megawatts. There was an incredible amount of solar generation capacity bid into that. So we're really looking forward to the announcements of those preferred bidders, because that's going to give us a sense of what technology is available, what prices we are currently have at our disposal, and that'll inform this bid window 5 that we anticipate in the coming weeks.
Just help me understand the timeline. So this bidding process closed off. You say we're awaiting these announcements for those tenders and those bidding processes. What's the timeline for something like this? Those announcements come out. How soon before load shedding starts becoming a thing of the past? Are we talking 2021, or is this one of those 10-year plans and we'll see what happens later?
Yeah. So, I mean, if we look at the upcoming bid window 5, which is specifically going to be a renewable energy procurement round, in it we're looking at about 1,000 megawatts of solar PV. And if we say that this starts in March, so the request for proposals comes out in March, and we look at about a 4-month bidding window to submit, and then another 4 months to evaluate and sign off on those projects, then we're looking at between 18 and 24 months before the first kilowatt hour of electricity goes onto the grid. And that'll just be of 1,000 megawatts of solar PV, and the wind will generally come a bit later. So we're looking at late 2022 for the first of these bid window 5 stations to come on. And if we have a deficit, like you're saying, of up to 6,000 megawatts, 5,000 megawatts, then we're looking at a few procurement rounds accelerated in order to meet that declining capacity from our national utility. So what we've always said is we have an integrated resource plan. And if we follow that to the T and even accelerate in some instances, there's an incredible opportunity not only to bring on what is now, the cheapest and cleanest power sources, but also very quickly, and also to mitigate what we have now, which is a very serious problem of load shedding.
It really is. And I'm going to say thank you for now. At least there's a timeline for South Africans to work for. We're going to be buying candles and LED lamps at least for the next 2 years. And maybe from there, load shedding might start reducing. But Mr. Tshehla, I'm going to say thank you to you for joining me this morning, helping me, the layman, understand what is 6,000 megawatts and why are we going to lose it and what are we going to do to try and fix it. That's Mr. Maloba Tshehla from the SA Photovoltaic Industry Association.